Greetings, I'm Dike Rostant. Welcome back to the TTT News. We are joined by Professor Pathmanathan Umaharan, Director of the Cocoa Research Center, UWI, as well as Pramilla Ramdahani, Vice President of Investments at InvesTT, to discuss exploring new and emerging opportunities for collaboration within the cocoa industry. Just before we start that though, we have a bit of a conversation that we had with the Line Minister for Agriculture, Senator Clarence Rambharat.
Thank you very much for making the time, Minister. But what are some of the works that are in train for the revitalization of the cocoa estates by the ministry, Minister?
Well, so far we've made, I would say, the three major steps are: one, getting the Cocoa Development Company up and running to be able to support the farmers; two, supporting the farmers and focusing on their private estates; and three, defending Trinidad and Tobago's status as a fine flavor cocoa producer. So we've been able to do that. The most important thing next is that I'm working on something that would see some private sector involvement in the ministry's cocoa fields. We believe that with private sector involvement, we'd be able to deal with our estates and harvest them fully and make the cocoa available to the private purchasers. So those are the main things that are happening.
Thank you so much for that. But in this time where everyone is looking at what it is we're spending on, what are some of the advantages or the advantage of expanding the local cocoa industry in Trinidad and Tobago at this time?
Well, the thing about it is that we have a long history and the beans are sought after. There is competition, but the beans are sought after. We've been able to maintain our bean quality. And the most important thing in terms of producing cocoa is that you don't have to produce cocoa alone. You have the fields. It is very important for the environment. It's very important to sustain the land, but you could also intercrop. You have farmers in South Trinidad, for example, Southeast, who do cocoa and they do bandania and they do other things. You could intercrop, and you don't have to put in all your resources, but it's an important part of farming in Trinidad and Tobago.
Minister, answer the question of what's in it for me, because you just spoke about farmers, but there are other aspects in terms of building that value chain outward. So it's not as though we're just exporting beans. So what kind of agricultural incentives will be put in place, if not in place already, for cocoa entrepreneurs?
Well, we have a suite of incentives that are traditional, but the most important thing is that in 2018, we introduced 100,000 grant for all forms of agriculture, different activities, and we've had some value-added producers who have already accessed the grant. So the most important thing is the 100,000, particularly for value-added people who want to do packaging, buy small equipment, upgrade their brand, upgrade their producing facilities. That, alongside the traditional incentives and the support, those are the things that are available for cocoa.
All right, so we want to thank you so much, Minister, and looking forward to further conversations where we can go in-depth, pun intended.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
And with that, we throw our first question to our guest today, Professor Umaharan, and asking what role does the Cocoa Research Center play in the development of the cocoa industry in Trinidad and its supporting ecosystem?
Okay, the Cocoa Research Center has three mandates. We have conservation of genetic resources. We are the custodian of the International Cocoa Gene Bank, which is regarded internationally as the largest and most diverse collection of cocoa in the world. So we use the genetic resources to identify varieties that are tolerant to diseases, climate change resilient varieties, and so on, so that these could be really developed into varieties for farmers. So that is one aspect of it. The second is that we do research in a variety of areas, including mitigation of cadmium and other metal contaminants in cocoa. And we have come up with a number of new innovative technologies to minimize contamination. We also look at post-harvest quality. We have a global DNA fingerprinting service that we offer not only to the Caribbean, but internationally to fingerprint cocoa and identify varieties. We also have an innovation center that we have established to showcase models for cocoa development. And the objective of this is to really provide apprenticeship training to farmers as well as to other entrepreneurs who are into chocolate production and so on. We offer a chocolate making program, basic and advanced courses where lots of people have worked with us. And we also offer an expo every year. The last couple of years, because of COVID, we haven't been able to do it. But this is something that we pride ourselves in terms of bringing the entrepreneurs together in an expo so that we can expose them to the public, so that they can be able to, the public will be able to understand the value of the value-added products that are produced. So, so the whole innovation center is about building the value chain from farming to processing to producing chocolates and marketing and so on. So that's what I think we have been doing.
And it's very exciting stuff. But just before we get with Ms. Ramdahani, and the minister would have spoken about intercropping. Professor, does intercropping create different flavor profiles? Because one of the things that you're speaking about is the diversity that is available in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, Trinidad and Tobago offers, Trinidad and Tobago has a reputation for its flavors for many, many years, right? And we have recently developed a flavor map of Trinidad. And what we are finding is that different parts of Trinidad brings about different flavors. Partly it's the varieties that are grown, partly it's the growing environment in which it's grown. And that offers the opportunity to produce a variety of chocolates with different flavors and market them into the international market. So I think that's an area that we are very excited about, in terms of building that quality. We are not very, the amount of the flavors that we can produce is enormous. And I think this is what we have been trying to train chocolatiers to be able to produce chocolates of different kinds of flavors so that, we can market Trinidad and Tobago internationally.
And in terms of marketing Trinidad and Tobago internationally, what is InvesTT's role, Ms. Ramdahani, in the promotion of the cocoa industry at this time?
Yeah, thank you very much for having us on TTT today. Certainly, InvesTT is the investment promotion agency for the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So our role is in marketing and promoting opportunities for foreign investors, as well as attracting foreign investors into Trinidad and Tobago, as well as working with our local investors. Now, InvesTT was presented with an opportunity to promote the cocoa opportunities to European investors by the European delegation to Trinidad and Tobago's Ambassador Peter Cavendish. And so building on that opportunity, InvesTT has taken a leadership role over the last few months in terms of organizing a series of episodes within a cocoa webinar series, the first of which will be on Wednesday, February 16. And so the opportunity on Wednesday, February 16 is really to provide an opportunity for European investors, as well as those who are involved in the local cocoa ecosystem to participate in this webinar. And so our role, therefore, was to bring together the thought leaders and the key decision makers in our local ecosystem, cocoa ecosystem, and so that they can present what are the opportunities and what is some of the future vision for this sector in terms of revitalization, in terms of sustainability, in terms of innovation, entrepreneurship. So that's our role at InvesTT, is really to bring as a catalyst in terms of bringing together these key stakeholders to drive investments and to drive diversification and revenue generation in Trinidad and Tobago.
And we want to speak to that increased vision and the opportunities when we return from this break. We are speaking about opportunities for cocoa and all the value chain that is involved when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are going in depth on new opportunities for the cocoa industry. We're doing so with Professor Pathmanathan Umaharan as well as Pramilla Ramdahani. And just before we get a little more to that webinar that I want to hear from you, Professor, it seems as though there is increased focus on cocoa and inputs going up the value chain from Trinidad and Tobago. Why is it that the EU is so interested in cocoa coming out of Trinidad and Tobago?
and Tobago has a reputation for its flavor, and we have been exporting cocoa into the European market for many, many years. And the flavor, because of our flavor reputation, as the minister had said, I think our cocoa is sought after. And in fact, our cocoa fetches 2 to 3 times premium over cocoa that is normally sold as bulk cocoa in the market. So, so that is why I think it's sought after, and that affords us the opportunity to really go into the niche and ultra niche markets of the world. And that is where I think the opportunity lies. At the moment, a majority of our cocoa is exported still as a primary product. But if we can convert, not only increase our production, but also convert our produce into value-added products, there's tremendous opportunities to go into these niche markets with novelty products, new flavors, and also the unique history and of Trinidad and Tobago packaged into something that can be marketed internationally. So I think that, along with the agrotourism impact that it can have to bring tourists into the country, we call them cocoa tourism. I think that affords an enormous opportunity for Trinidad and Tobago into the future. So that's why we're all very excited about this development.
So moving from bean to bar, looking at products in cosmetics and the full gamut. Who do you want to attend this webinar, Ms. Ramdahani? And what are some of the other details that you can give in terms of logging on and being part of the engagement process?
Sure. So in terms of who should be at this webinar, certainly everyone who's involved in the cocoa value chain, from farming right up to value-added products to ecotourism as well. So there are lots of opportunities along that value chain, and we invite all, both local as well as foreign investors, to also participate. Now, we will be having from Europe, chocolatiers representing Europe, as well as investors who are interested in both investing and in joint venture opportunities. We also will be having from locally, we'll have some of our local farmers, we'll have some of our stakeholders, banking sector. We also will have some of our innovators, exporters, our government leaders as well who are present within that audience. So far, we have approximately 400 who have registered, and that includes both international as well as European and as well as locally. So the audience is wide, and we invite everyone in the value chain, in the cocoa ecosystem, to join us on Wednesday. And you can log into our website at www.investtt.co.tt, and there you would find the registration link to the webinar. The webinar begins at 10 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time and ends at 12 noon. There will be a panelist, which includes both Senator the Honorable Clarence Rambharat, as well as Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi-Schoon, His Excellency Peter Cavendish, who is the ambassador for the European delegation to Trinidad and Tobago, as well as our chair, Ms. Franca Castello, as well as Professor Umaharan, will be part of the, will form the panelists for tomorrow's event. There would also be opportunities for the audience to also send in any questions at that time to the panelists, or any other questions they have on cocoa in Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, 2 hours of chock-a-block full of information. After that 2 hours, Professor, what kind of opportunities does the center offer for people who are trying to prepare for those international opportunities?
I think we have been providing technical support to investors locally and as well as internationally. I think we are very much equipped to support investors who come into the country or local investors to provide technical information with regard to best practices in cocoa production, processing methodologies, quality management systems, training in terms of value addition, product development support, and so on. So we are prepared to work with investors who are coming to the country to support them, nurture them so that they become successful businesses, local investors as well as foreign investors, so that as a country, we can grow the cocoa from where it is as a potential to a reality of an industry that we are all proud of. and contributing to the diversification of the Trinidad and Tobago economy. So that is our hope. And we are hoping that following this early intervention we are having tomorrow, there will be a lot of interest coming from investors. And then we could start the process of linking local and foreign investors and providing the technological knowledge to support them.
And that linking is so important. But Ms. Ramdahani, I asked the minister, and I'm going to ask you now, what is in it now in terms of business opportunities for local entrepreneurs?
Well, absolutely. There are so many opportunities for local entrepreneurs in the cocoa ecosystem. You have opportunities for those who are thinking about entrepreneurship, startup entrepreneurs, as well as there are opportunities for high growth entrepreneurs. Startup entrepreneurs can access any point and build a business, from farming on abandoned estates or land, farming the cocoa beans, right up to producing chocolate, to becoming chocolatiers, to ecotourism. So there are opportunities for startup entrepreneurs, and for the high growth entrepreneurs, certainly opportunities for export markets and for building joint ventures or accessing different types of investment to grow their business in different countries as well. So lots of opportunities for entrepreneurs, for innovation as well, for commercialization. Should there be an idea for technology as well? You can also access the University of the West Indies various incubators to incubate your ideas. So several opportunities at this time for job creation, entrepreneurship in the cocoa ecosystem. Once we have the key stakeholders at the table, so that would involve the research centers, the cocoa development company, government, private sector, foreign investors, and that would be the perfect scenario that we would want to have to revitalize the sector, to drive new investments and also exports.
Thank you so much. And looking down the road, you just spoke about a perfect scenario. So, Professor, I want to throw it to you. Long term, what do you want to see in terms of expanding the local cocoa industry for Trinidad and Tobago? What are some of those things that you see as a result if you had the ideal situation?
Trinidad at one time used to produce 40,000 tons of cocoa, and at the moment we are producing 500 tons. So that is what we would like to change. We want to increase our production from 500 tons to at least 20,000 tons in the next 10 years. We want to expand our capacity for value addition to produce at least 80% of our cocoa that is produced into value-added products and market it into niche markets so that we get the best prices. We want our entrepreneurs to set up boutiques in metropolitan cities so that, our products can be marketed. Not only you create revenue in terms of production here, but also in retailing and so on. We want to diversify our product range from just chocolates to nutraceutical products into cosmeceuticals and so on, so that you have a wide array of products. We want to bring tourism into the country. We want to brand Trinidad as the chocolate island, where people from all over the world come to Trinidad to experience chocolate and the diversity of farming and methodologies and so on. We want Trinidad and Tobago to be the model for cocoa production worldwide. So that is what our dream would be, and that is what we should all as stakeholders focus on, trying to building this industry. This is one of the industries that we have comparative advantage, and we need to use it.
And we want to thank you for taking these steps towards that dream, Professor Pathmanathan Umaharan, Director of the Cocoa Research Center, the UWI, as well as Pramilla Ramdahani, Vice President of InvesTT, exploring new and emerging opportunities for collaboration within the cocoa industry. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, this has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you for joining us.